I don't know why I can never get this to go all the way in, but we're gonna fix it today. It tingles a little still. Well, welcome back to Miller's in Motion.
And while he is clumsy, I promise you he's not actually hurt today. But we did face a little bit of an incident this week, which kind of reminded us.
You see my wound?
That's disgusting. Put that away. Yes, he has a wound. We're not going to look at it. We're going to blur that out. So while we had a little incident this week, it just reminded us that that's something that we could talk to you guys about, would be seeking medical care and kind of tending to some minor emergencies while on the road in our paper mache houses.
So, Lauren has much more experience in medicine than I do by about just a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean freaking miles. But lucky for you, I'm used to the big words that she says. I still don't completely understand them, but I know kind of what they mean. So I'm officially going to be your medical term translator until I mess up. And if I mess up, there'll be something on the screen. So.
Right. So I am an internal medicine physician assistant and have been for about 10 years and have a master's degree. So just to preface that also being said, this is generic medical advice. This is not dedicated towards you. Please don't tell your doctor, well, Miss Lauren on the internet told me to. So
this is where the legal thing at the end of the commercial comes in.
Don't do that.
May cause a rectal bleeding. Please consult your own physician. All of that right here.
Consult your own physician. Absolutely. This is just generic, meant for everybody to take with a grain of salt. Hopefully it helps.
Yeah, I haven't died yet, so. A new injury, making the rig go boom because you leaned on the propane line for the stove.
So let's break it down into kinds of injuries.
Boo-boos.
Boo-boos. We have really big injuries. Those are like...
I'm just kidding.
That's not. These are like, do not pass go, straight to the ER, call 911, those kinds of things.
The bone is protruding from my skin.
Yes. If you can see something that you didn't previously used to be able to see, bad news. That's not good. Shocking yourself, especially when there's like smoke coming out of your hair or something like that. Can't feel your arm.
Yeah.
Bad news. Dropping the rig on your hand while you're trying to connect. Bad news. Don't do that. So you start with your major injuries, and those are your emergencies, your life-threatening kind of things. And then below that are the things that are more likely to happen. And those are some of the things that you may have seen. Ouch, I whacked my hand with the hammer, you know, those kinds of things. I fell down the stairs and my ankle hurts.
Twice.
But more realistically, people will get, sinus infections. They get bladder infections. They get little cuts and scrapes that may turn into infections. Those are kind of the things that you may actually find more often in this lifestyle. When we're out hiking or something, you're going to get scraped up. Or
Allergies.
Yeah, allergies. Find a tick on you and be like, oh my gosh, what do I do about this? Those.
You had to say tick with that Keith and Rainey thing last night. There's a tick on me.
So that actually happened to us. We went for a hike one time. I came back.
No, that happened to you. I did not have a tick on me.
Yes, it did. And it was on my arm, and I was completely appalled. But, that brings up a good point. Do you know how to get a tick off of yourself? Those kinds of things.
Just light yourself on fire.
No bad ideas. Don't listen to him. He's not the medical one. Remember that. So I think a good place to start would be being able to recognize what's really big versus what's manageable versus also like what can wait. And so that'll be something to kind of think about. And I think being prepared will help buy you time in a lot of those situations.
How much blood can you lose before you really need to go to the ER?
Well, you can, having gauze on hand in case you have an open wound, that way you can get to an emergency.
So now it's about my open wound again.
It is. Trick, if you have kids, get a red dish towel, keep that in the kitchen, and if anybody's bleeding, you use that so they don't see the blood and they're not scared.
That's disgusting, and I'm never going to touch a red dish towel again now. Thanks for that mental trauma.
Watch this, guys. What happened when I stuck a steak knife through my hand?
Oh, I almost passed out. I'm the person that sees blood and go, mm-mm. And she's the person that's like, I'll cut it.
So yes, fun fact, I did stick a steak knife through my hand. And so keep the red dish towel handy because it may save somebody else from passing out. Then you don't have 2 sick people, you only have the one.
I didn't pass out, I just almost passed out.
Right.
There's a difference.
So have that handy, have like an ice pack handy if you fall down the stairs and the bone's not sticking out and it's not an emergency and you can walk on it.
You know, that's a good point. In most RVs, there's not ice makers if you have an RV fridge. We are very lucky that we have a residential fridge and a big old thing of ice, so we can just make an ice pack with a Ziploc baggie. But if you don't, throw one of those little lunchbox...
the little reusable ice packs and keep a couple of those handy.
If not, a bag of peas, meat that's in the... Literally anything. Well, maybe not the raw meat right to your face, but maybe toss in the Ziploc first. But
we don't want to deal with what happens with raw meat.
Yeah. Get RVers as a whole, we kind of think outside the box sometimes when push comes to shove. And so think outside the box. If you need a cold compress of some kind or something to go on, so what's in your freezer?
And then, if you throw your back out trying to bend down, lift and things.
Now I just feel like you're picking on me.
Keep a heating pad handy, those kinds of things. So if you have those, it may make something that seems really uncomfortable a little bit easier to deal with. So one of the things that we did was we converted one of these cabinets here in our bathroom to a bit of a medicine cabinet. And these are just things that are kind of handy for us to have on hand in the case of. So in the bottom here, we keep like some bug spray, some sunscreen, things like that for when we are outdoors. Because a little bit of prevention in that way is going to save us a lot of comfort later. So, and then we also have, this is our mainly medications that are handy to just keep. We have some like cough and cold stuff, you never know what you may need. Allergy medicine. We have some like cortisone itch cream just in case one of us gets into poison ivy or something of the sorts on our hikes. And then, your basic things. You have a couple ibuprofen for back pain or whatnot. You have a little bit of Tylenol. Those things are really handy to have because they can also buy you time. And so on that note, let's talk about where you can go to seek care and the kind of time you're going to be looking at for that. So 2 things that I didn't mention while we were in the medicine cabinet, we do keep a first aid kit. And so we always have bandages of different sizes and different kinds. We have a little bit of like antibiotic ointment, and we have things where you can clean wounds if that were to happen, and you can pick that up at any pharmacy. The other thing we keep is like stomach medicine. So you never know when you need a heartburn pill, a Tums, maybe a little Pepto. It's always nice to have it and not need it.
It's the brisket.
It's always the brisket.
It's tasty though.
Anyway, so then let's talk about how to seek care when you need it. And this kind of...
Sticking your head out the window and going, help! Doesn't count?
No, that's not recommended.
Better than nothing.
So we'll start at the very top. Life-threatening things. I'm having a heart attack. I can see this bone. I shouldn't.
911.
911. Yes, absolutely. They're going to need to know your location, know where you are. It is helpful to them. If you wait until you're in an emergency to try to think about where you are, it's too late. You're going to be way too distracted. So always know it.
So we don't do this, but I want to because we're pretty stationary, so we know where we are. But when we travel, we actually have a dry erase board on our fridge, and I'd actually like to take the top section of it and make it where it's like, hey, this is our address. This is where we are. And mainly because if you do travel a lot, and if you're a full-timer on the road all the time, you might forget what city you're in. And that's a little musician trick. Some touring musicians do that. They have a little board up front. And then you are in wherever you're in. Waco, Texas, Sacramento, California, wherever, just so that they like, oh yeah, I'm not where I thought I was.
Right, and so think about, where you are, maybe some major landmarks. I've been on roads where I've seen car accidents and I've stopped to help, and when I call 911, I'm on a road I know and I still can't remember the crossroad that was right behind me, even though I'm familiar with the area. So be prepared in that. So step down from that, know where your emergency rooms are. I know that insurance is a thing, but if it's a true emergency, just know where the emergency rooms are if you can get there.
Even if expensive, living is still better.
And know how far away they are. If you're really in the middle of nowhere and the closest emergency room is hours away, you need to factor that into your thinking process.
The dog is licking my leg.
Below that, your urgent care kind of things. Oh, I think this needs some stitches. Oh, this can't wait until my doctor opens on Monday and I can put in a phone call.
Care now type places.
Right. So depending on where you are, that urgent care type facility. And then below that, having a really good relationship with your doctor is super handy, because a lot of the times you can call in and say, hey, what do I do?
Right.
And they can walk you through some of that sort of stuff.
And they may even potentially do virtual visits.
Right.
You know, in the world of post-COVID, that's become a very predominant portion now.
Yes.
And so if you're on the road but you really like your doctor and they do virtual visits, you might be able to do a visit just straight from your cell phone while you're thousands of miles away.
Right. And so keep that in mind too. And like I say, either they can do that, get enough information from you, know your history enough to manage it, or they can direct you to what you should be doing. Oftentimes, if you log on to your insurance carrier's website, they will actually have like a find a provider link. You can type in the zip code of where you are, and then it will direct you, if you know it, they will direct you to the nearest emergency room, the nearest urgent care, those sorts of things.
You mean not everybody has a U where I just go, it hurts, where do I go? And you just magically make it happen, whether I gotta drive myself or not. It's on my phone.
That's right.
Also, and Lauren doesn't know I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna give you medical advice. Be very scared. If you have an iPhone, I cannot speak to Android users, you maybe have something like this. If you have an iPhone, you have the ability to do what's called medical ID on here. That is a feature that I find very valuable. You can do everything from put your emergency contact information. So if I'm injured and incapacitated and they find my phone, medical personnel or first responders can get to that information and find Lauren's name, any medicines I might be allergic to, my birth date, any predominant information that might help a first responder. Because obviously we don't want that to happen. We don't want to be in car accidents. We don't want those things. But crappy things happen all the time. And the people that seem to come out of the other end are always the ones that are more prepared. So be an Eagle Scout.
I have a couple of patients that print their histories because they travel a lot. And so they'll print like their surgeries, their medicines, their allergies, and even the name and phone number of their primary care doctor. So if they're in an accident or they're with family and need emergency care, everybody's prepared.
Well, and this is just all bonus tips because we're remembering them as we go. We have a file box in our rig that has important information that we don't want to leave back at a house somewhere while we're on the road. It has things like, because I do still travel internationally quite a bit, it has my passport in it, as yours too. But it also has medical history. And so it has all that stuff in printed form, whether it's just what the doctor gives you when you walk out filed, or you make type up your own to make it a little cleaner, whatever. But having a physical copy on hand, that way you don't have to rely on your memory, because I can't tell you how many times I couldn't tell you what I had for lunch last week.
It's the truth.
And so when was the last time I was in the doctor? I don't know. I had a thing on my side, he poked it with something and gave me a bunch of pain pills.
No, they weren't pain pills, they're antibiotics. Alright guys, hopefully that was somewhat helpful, without too much visual on what triggered the thought for the video this week.
You didn't see it, I stepped on the dog on accident and freaked out because I didn't want to crush him. Hi.
So, we will catch you guys next Sunday.
Bye, Mom!